Hey there. It's me, Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access, link in the comment, thanks. As expected, the wind nipped at my legs as we boarded the commuter plane in Chicago for the final leg of our trip home. I was surprised to be addressed by name by the flight attendants during the entire trip. After taking off from LAX, we were even asked if we'd like to sit up in first class. Mom, as always, had booked regular coach fares for us. We took advantage of the offer and moved forward. The seats were much roomier and the food was better. After things settled down on the 4-hour trip, we were visited by the flight attendants and I gave out some autographs. The flight attendants all told me how much they had enjoyed my performance in open spaces, closed hearts. One was familiar with the book and asked if we were going to do the rest. I told her that there were plans to do all 3 parts if the movie was a commercial success. The 2 attendants on the short commuter flight called me by name also. There wasn't any first class on the small plane, but I probably would have been offered an upgrade if there had been. There are a few times when being a celebrity is nice. Back at school on Monday, I found myself the center of attention again. Everyone wanted to talk about the movie. I didn't think that this many people could even have seen the movie since it had only been playing in the Cineplex since the previous Monday, the first day of general release, but I was told that they were playing it in 3 of the theaters on a rotating schedule. A new show started every 45 minutes in one of the 3. In the past, things quieted down after a couple of days, but not this time. The excitement continued during the entire week. There were even a few incidents where boys made some crude remarks about me because of the character that I had played. That didn't last very long once Brad's former teammates heard about it. The next day, one of the boys who had made a remark was sporting blackened eyes and several bandages. I didn't hear any more remarks after that. My new credit card came bearing the name C. Ramsey and I was able to go shopping in disguise. I got strange looks from salespeople when I presented it and I knew that they were trying to figure out if I was Crystal or related to her, but the card always returned an authorization code when run through the card readers and they didn't press me for more ID. I missed shopping with Carol, Heather, and Sherry. We always had so much fun together. I had a lot of friends at school, but none that I was really close to. Spending so much time away probably had something to do with that, and since becoming somewhat famous I found myself being cautious about getting close to people because I didn't know if they wanted me as a friend, or just wanted to associate with the actress, Crystal Ramsey. The cheerleading squad had definitely wanted Crystal the actress, and so I had never gotten real close to any of those girls. My closest girlfriends were the ones that I had made right after becoming Crystal. I had originally tried to split my time between them and the cheerleading crowd, but now I concentrated more on redeveloping those early friendships. 3 girls from my shorthand class, Barb, Jenny, and Diane, had been the ones that I had been closest to after starting school as Crystal. I had been having lunch with them at least twice a week during the past school year, but now I started to call them up and go out with them more often. I knew that they were my friends, not just fans. I also made contact with Mr. Tucker again. It had been almost 10 months since I had helped out with February's production and I hadn't seen him since. I found out from Barbara when he was going to be at the theater and I went down there to visit. Crystal, my lovely young flower. You've blossomed into a wonderful actress. I saw your new movie and you were absolutely wonderful. I was enthralled every time you came onto the screen. Thank you, Mr. Tucker. I owe it all to you. I only helped shape the skills that you already possessed. Actors are born, not made. You can't teach screen presence. One either has it or doesn't. You have it. Thank you, but I still have to give you the credit for teaching me about acting. The things that I learned from you enabled me to go on and do the things that I've done. Without you, I never could have done it. Whenever I'm acting, I keep hearing your voice in my head. Crystal, don't slouch. Crystal, watch your marks. Crystal, identify with your character. Crystal, stay focused. Crystal, make the audience your friend. I get so wrapped up in following your instructions that I forget to be nervous. Mr. Tucker laughed. I'm glad that I was able to help bring out the actor that was there all along. You've done marvelously well. In just a year and a half, you've had substantial roles in 2 movies. The first movie did great and the second looks to be a chart topper. I've been lucky to get the parts in such great movies. So many wonderful actors never get the chances that I've had, and it appears that I may be doing either 1 or 2 sequels to Open Spaces. My contract had an option for up to 2 if the original is successful. The reported numbers from the first 2 weeks are good. When's your next engagement? Well, I'm kinda up for a part in a movie that is supposed to start shooting in March, but I've already been on 2 callbacks and they haven't made up their minds. It's been almost 4 months since they first interviewed me, so I don't know if I'll get it or not. What kind of movie is it? I'm not exactly sure. I do know that it's set in the Victorian period, but I don't know if it's a drama, love story, suspense, mystery, or historical production. I've only seen the parts of the script that they wanted me to read from. Who's the producer? Mark Silver, and the director is Trevor Bacon. I've heard of both of them, of course, but I don't know them personally. Still, taking 6 or 8 months to cast a picture isn't unusual. Sometimes it takes a year or 2 until they find just the right people for the top spots. When you're spending $20, $40, or $60 million, you take your time and do it right. I guess. So you don't have anything going on before March? Nothing right now. Wonderful. How would you like to help us out? I'll be happy to. What would you like me to do? Perform in our new play, of course. Perform? Okay. What are you doing? Wait Until Dark, by Frederick Knott. That sounds familiar. Is that the movie that Audrey Hepburn was in? Yes. It's a classic stage thriller, but she was in the movie version. Basically, the plot is that there's a doll stuffed with contraband hidden somewhere in the Greenwich Village apartment of a blind woman named Susie Hendricks. Some very nasty characters want the doll and will do whatever is necessary to get it. And you want me to play Susie Hendricks? That's a major role, as I remember. There are only about 6 other actors in the play. The play needs someone like you to carry it off. I've wanted to do it for a long time but never had anyone that I felt could do the part justice. Until now. And yet you scheduled it before you knew that I would be available? No, not exactly. I was planning on doing Getting Away with Murder by Stephen Sondheim and George Furth until you came in today. When you agreed to do the play, I decided that now was the chance that I had been waiting for. But the part is so large. The blind girl is on stage almost the entire time if the play is like the movie. That's why I haven't been able to do it before. I haven't had anyone that could really carry the entire play. You can. I sat and thought about the play. I hadn't seen the movie version in quite a while, but I remembered it. I had watched in fascination as Audrey Hepburn had felt her way around the set for almost the entire picture. Okay, Mr. Tucker. If that's what you want, I'll do it. Fantastic. We'll give this town something to see that they'll talk about for years. I'll get the performance rights and scripts right away. We should be able to put together the rest of the cast from among our regular players. We continued to sit there and talk about the play for a while and then talked about personal matters. I learned that Mr. Tucker's mother was not doing very well in the nursing home and that it appeared to be only a matter of time now, probably less than a year. Mr. Tucker had asked me about my future plans and I told him about the colleges that I had applied to. He agreed with my selections and wished me luck. We talked for a little longer before I had to leave in order to meet Mom for my ride home. She didn't want me riding the bus alone anymore. She was just pulling up when I emerged from the theater. On the way home I told her that I had agreed to do the play for Mr. Tucker. "Oh, Crystal. What are you going to do if something comes up professionally?" "Put them off. I owe it to the company for giving me my start. We have enough money now so that I can do this. And I don't have any prospects for other work right now. Besides, the play will be over by March, and I can still take off for a few days to go for an interview if something worthwhile opens up." "Okay, dear. It's up to you. As you say, we have enough to pay for Carol's and your education. We've paid off the condo, and with the money from the commercials and the latest movie you don't have to work anymore if you don't want to." "I'm not looking to not work, Mom. I haven't worked since August except for the commercials. I'm anxious to do something, that's why I agreed to do the play. If I can't get paid work, then I'll do free work." I finished up my Christmas shopping the following week. The traffic in the stores was getting crazy and I was glad that I was done. Carol would be home soon and I began to decorate the house for the holidays. Mom and I picked up a tree and set it up in the living room. We would wait until Carol got home before we decorated it, so that we could do it together. We also had our telephone number changed to an unlisted one. We had been getting sporadic calls from fans since I had begun acting, but with the new movie they picked up tenfold. We always let the machine answer, and most had pleasant inquiries because people didn't know if they had the right number. Ramsey is not an uncommon name, and Mom only had her first initial listed in the phone book. But now a lot of callers seemed to know that they had the right number and a lot of calls were very lewd, so Mom cut off the old number right away. We had to go through the trouble of notifying family and friends of the change. My fan mail picked up appreciably too. It was a good thing that Mom had stocked up on the glossy prints that she sent to everyone who wrote. We picked up Carol at the airport on Thursday the 21st. She was done with her classes until the 15th of January. The house immediately took on an entirely new feel as Carol began calling her friends who were also coming home from college for the holidays, and as they began to return the calls. Carol hadn't completed her shopping yet, so I wound up returning to the crowded mall and stores with her so that we could get the final items on her list. The hordes of people aided in shielding my identity. Everyone was so concerned with their last-minute shopping that they weren't paying attention to much else. It actually took us 2 days to finish her shopping because the selections had thinned and it took forever to get service in the stores. Brad arrived home late on Friday night and called me as soon as he got in. Because of being on the football team, this was his first trip home since he had left for school during the summer. I had only spoken to him once since he had left for college, but he had written a letter to me every week, which I had always answered right away. There was a big Christmas party at Jimmy Benneker's house on Saturday and he wanted me to go. Carol had already been invited by Vinnie DeMarco. I hadn't known it, but Carol and Vinnie had been in contact since they had left for college. He either called her or wrote to her every week. I said a yes to Brad's invitation and he said that he'd pick me up at 7. Carol and I finished up her shopping on Saturday. As we had neared the end of her list, we had spent more and more time trying on things for ourselves, so it took forever to get done, but we had a lot more fun. We got home around 3 o'clock and almost immediately started getting ready for the party. We did our nails and then decided what we were going to wear, trying on some of the new things that we had bought, until we were satisfied. Brad always liked me dressed in tight-fitting clothes, so I decided on a tight, black leather skirt, plum-colored blouse, and knee-high boots with 4-inch heels. Since Brad was so tall, I could never even come close to him even if I wore 6-inch heels. Carol selected a beige, knit, pullover dress that accented her figure, and brown boots with 3-inch heels. Vinny was only about 4 inches taller, so she didn't need much to almost match his height. Brad arrived right at 7. I heard the doorbell ring and hurried to finish because I expected it to be him since he was always so punctual. I put on some scent and grabbed my purse before going downstairs. Mom was talking with Brad in the living room when I got there. I saw his face light up and I returned his smile as he rushed towards me and picked me up, hugged me, kissed me, and twirled me around twice. "Brad, stop it. You're making me dizzy." He stopped. "I'm sorry, honey. I'm just so glad to see you. I've missed you more than I could say. A few times I've wanted to tell the coach where he could put the football just so I'd be suspended and be able to come home like most of the guys at school do on weekends. But I stuck it out and now football is over for the rest of the school year, except for practice in the spring. Now I can come home on weekends and it's less than a 4-hour drive. That's wonderful. I'll bet that your parents are excited." "They are, but they said that I have to keep my grades up or they'll take my car away so that I can't come home too often." He smiled. "Don't worry about that. I'll get straight A's just so that I can see you every weekend." We said good night to Mom after Brad helped me with my coat and we left for the party. Brad had been to Jimmy's house so often that his 4x4 practically knew the way there by itself, and he talked as he drove, telling me all about his college and the guys that he was rooming with this year. Being a freshman, he didn't get much playing time during games, but he was learning and getting better. He felt that he would be used next year because he thought that he was as good as the backup quarterback, who was a junior this year. "I went to see your latest picture this past week. None of the guys believe that I'm going steady with a movie star. I have to show them the prom picture. I'm not a movie star. I'm just an actress. An out-of-work actress at the moment, but I'm going to be in the winter production at the community theater." "What are they putting on?" "It's called A Wait Until Dark. It's about a blind girl who's terrorized by criminals searching for a doll that contains heroin or something." "Are you the lead?" "Yes. I'm going to play Susie Hendricks." "Great," Brad said. His voice conveys annoyance. "What's the matter?" I said with a concerned voice. "I finally finished football and now you'll be tied up with acting. It's only for a few months. And by being tied up here you know that I won't be off in California or New York." He brightened. "That's true. I'll just have to squeeze in when you're not busy." We arrived at Jimmy's house and managed to find a parking spot that was still open, then trudged through the snow to reach the house. From the minute that we walked in, people started to hug and kiss us. Both Brad and I had been away and hadn't had contact with most of this crowd since June. The music was loud and we had to shout to talk about what we had been doing since the graduation exercises in June. Of course, most everyone knew what I was up to because of the movies. Things settled down once we had made the rounds and greeted everyone. Carol and Vinny had arrived about 10 minutes before we did and I saw them dancing or off in a corner kissing. Brad, unlike previous parties, didn't spend most of his time talking with his buddies. Instead, he wanted to dance, or just be with me. He found a vacant spot along one wall and whenever we weren't dancing he pulled me to that spot, trapped me between the wall and his body, and kissed me until my mouth got sore. Carol rescued me after about an hour to go to the powder room with her. Wow, cries, are you guys gonna stand against that wall all night? She said, smiling. Me? How about you? I saw you and Vinny in that corner that you've staked out. We both giggled. They're both horny as hell. Be careful that Brad doesn't drag you upstairs to a vacant bedroom. That is, if there is a vacant bedroom. I sure wouldn't want to have to clean the sheets tomorrow. I'm surprised that Mr. and Mrs. Benneker let Jimmy have a party without them being here. Maybe they figure that he's grown up now that he's in college, I said. He's only older. I haven't seen him for the past half hour. He went upstairs with Dee Smith and hasn't come down yet. I'm sure that Dee's on the pill. I am too. I've been using them since I started USC. What? I gasped in surprise. You never told me. It may have been due to the fact that I was incapable of being aroused due to my medication, and thoughts of sexual activity were usually far from my mind, but Carol's admission had totally shocked me. I haven't been promiscuous, sis, but I've been with a couple of guys since September. I'm 18, and I'm not a nun. You haven't mentioned anyone special at school. They weren't really special. We saw each other for a few weeks and then it ended. And Vinny? Vinny's special. The more I date in college, the more I realize how special he is. I haven't wanted to just fall into bed with him, and the circumstances haven't been right for anything else. We continued to talk about the boys as we touched up our faces and then left the room. There was a line of 4 girls waiting to come in. Brad and Vinny were waiting at the end of the hallway when we emerged. They wanted to drag us off to the dark again, but we told them that we were thirsty and hungry, so we all went to see what beverages and chips and dips were available. We stayed at the party until almost 1 o'clock, and I spent most of that time wrapped in Brad's embrace. He was trying to make up for lost time and missed opportunities. He didn't try to get me upstairs and wouldn't have succeeded anyway. I think that he knew that. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access. Link in the comment. Thanks.